Okay, we've got Vic Ridenour, the new head coach of Lampeter Strasburg, with Darryl and myself here on Fresh Set of Downs. Coach, thanks for taking some time out of a very busy first week to talk a little football with Darryl and I. But look, you and Darryl, I mean, this is nothing new for you guys to get together, is it?
No, he's been around the program for a couple of years. On the sidelines, he's been working with a lot of our kids. The kids speak very highly of him. So yeah, it's been. I know Darryl a little bit from previous years.
Well, that's good. I guess the one question that always has to be asked is, you're following a legend. John Mannion. I mean, he was LS for so many years. So talk about, even for your own self, mentally, what it's like to fill those shoes.
Um, yeah, I'll just say John was really, really, really good over the last probably 5, 6 years. Any kind of decision that he was making as a head coach with the program, he always included me, would talk to me about it. I think he was just trying to groom me for that opportunity when it would come around. And he's been great. I've used that phrase. It's like, hey man, I'm gonna be stepping into some big shoes. And he said, no, I want you to stand on my shoulders. And just to continue to build the program from where he has now and to keep going forward. He's been great. I've said this to other folks too. I mean, he's down the hallway. Anytime I have a question, I can always go down and talk to him about some things. And so he's been wonderful that way. I mean, I don't know if it's pressure, but you definitely want to keep the Cadillac moving forward. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's been quite a Cadillac over the last few years. I mean, that's so, how do you keep that Cadillac moving? I mean, you've had a couple of especially last year. I mean, what a great group of kids, whatever like that. But Darryl's told me, he said, that it was fortunate that he had the opportunity, to play a lot of the younger players, to kind of groom them to be able to take the step forward here. So who are some of the kids that are going to, that you think are going to step forward this year for Lampeter Strasburg?
I think there's a handful of them. These kids have been hungry. They've been wanting to get on the field. They've had opportunities to get on the field last year in some of the games that we were ahead by a few touchdowns. But some of the kids, I think of a kid like Berkeley Wagner. He's going to be our quarterback. He's a good leader last year on defense. He set all of our secondary coverages last year. He had the freedom to call that on his own, and we gave him some guidance, but he made some great calls. And he's just one of the smartest football players I've been around in my 20 years of coaching. He just gets it. And then we have up front, obviously we have Nick. That helps. Yeah, and
Nick Del Grande, right?
Del Grande,
who
yeah.
Darryl's very familiar with, and
yes. He's like having a coach on the field. And that group up front, I mean, we're bringing in 4 new starters. Our centers, our 2 guards, and our right tackle. But man, they are a great group of kids that they talk about football. They're constantly talking about football. They communicate really well. If there's an issue, they try to figure it out, and if they can't quite figure it out, then we'll step in and kind of help them. So because you're going to need to do that on the field at times. There are times that you get to the next play, you got to figure it out until you can get onto the sidelines and we can look at the film. But those guys up front, they're going to, we'll go as they go, and I think that could be the strength of our team. Some other kids, I think Peyton Cunningham, he's a senior. He got in a little bit last year. He was a wing back for us. And there's some sophomores that are going to play a little bit this year then too. It's a pretty talented class that's coming up with those kids.
Darryl, you have a question for Coach?
Well, again, the first thing everybody's always going to ask is, how, I know Coach Mannion, being the legend that he is, having big shoes to fill, but, all summer working with a lot of those guys, Gio, Bo, Nick, the thing is, and obviously Berkeley stepping into Sean's shoes, us being all sports guys understand that the past right now is the past. No, like right now, you can talk about the NFL. Tom Brady won the 7th Super Bowl, but right now, going into 2021, 2022 season, none of that matters. You got to play this season. So I think I'm excited to see what those guys do as seniors, as leaders on the team, with their opportunity, because again, you can't rest your laurels on last year, because Bishop McDevitt 2 years ago, when LS came back and beat them down 20-0, and Berks Catholic when they beat them 2 years ago to win the championship on their field. Conrad Weiser, when they brought the game in close, they blew them out at the end. Those guys remember that, so they're going to come back hungry. So if those guys are sitting there worrying about and thinking about what they did 2 years ago, they're going to have problems. So I think they're focused on this year. They're ready to move ahead. Again, like you said, you got good leadership. You got a guy like Nick Del Grande. I've been at practice again. We'll talk about during the season. A lot of the teams that I've been fortunate to work with, a lot of players I've been working with, and just being able to be at practice and see some of these guys now that are seniors being leaders. That's really cool to see. So I'm just excited for this group to see if they're going to be able to do this year.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be like, along with Nick and Bo, and Berkeley, do you have any other guys that you think that'll be, crucial to your success this year as a team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a kid like Evan Sellers, he's going to be a defensive lineman for us, an offensive guard. Gio Malatesta, he's another one. I think he could be really good for us. There's a handful of kids. I kind of like the vibe of our team right now. We're blessed. We've been blessed the last few years. We have unselfish kids. They don't mind sharing the ball. They're going to block for whoever's carrying the ball. They're going to do what they need to do. They're going to be in the right place on defense. They know that if they are unselfish, accolades will come. And there's a handful of those kids. Kind of talking about Berkeley filling Sean's shoes. When I first got hired then as the head coach, I started working with Berkeley in the mornings a little bit, some quarterback footwork and stuff like that. And the first thing I asked him, I walked into the gym, I said, "What's your name?" The Berkeley Wagner. And I said, "That's who you need to be this year."
Right.
Berkeley Wagner this year.
Right.
So, and he's all in. He's done a great job. So.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think are going to be some of the biggest challenges that your team is going to face this year, Coach?
Oh boy.
And I mean it from not only from a player's perspective, but just on a program perspective, and like I said, unfortunately, right, wrong, or indifferent, I know that John is just down the hallway, but it's going to feel different. People are going to look at things differently. And so for you, what do you think some of the biggest challenges are going to be for the team this year?
Some of the biggest challenges for our team is we have a close group of kids, but I think you need to continue to foster those kinds of relationships, that everybody is just getting closer and closer and closer. If you have a really good locker room, you have a really good chance of having a really good season. And fortunately, we've had some very good locker rooms. We do have some kids that are kind of new to leadership a little bit, that I think could be a little more vocal. And not just the captains, some of the other kids who are seniors, and there's a couple of juniors too that I'd like to see be a little bit more vocal. The other challenge, and it's still out there, and it worries me a little bit, and it's not related to the program, but I mean, I feel bad for teams like Elko and those teams that have lost their first game like that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's hanging over this whole season, so that's something that worries me a bit. You don't want an off week. You want to keep playing and building momentum.
Right. I think that's, as we know, that's going to be one of the toughest things during the season if that continues to come up again. So, like I talked to some of the guys that I worked with last year, and I just told them, you just got to just stay the course until the season's over. And if you guys want to go hang out with friends and all that stuff, that's well and good. But you got to understand, you have an opportunity to do the thing you love. So you got to take care of, you got to stay home. You got to stay around just your family. Just do it. Because again, once it's over, you can't go back. We talked a little bit about the Harrisburg situation. Like, they did everything they did to get those 4 games last year, and then they get in, and then they had the COVID situation. So that's tough. Those guys worked their butt off for coach, and to be in that situation where it's all taken away from you. So you don't want to be that team where, okay, you get in a run, you get in a district championship game, you have a chance to go for X, Y, and Z, and then something happens, somebody gets COVID, now you have to cancel. So, I think that's going to be the toughest thing for teams this year. Everybody gets complacent and gets comfortable. Oh, we're rolling, we got 10 games, and all of a sudden, now, like I said, the first week, someone's looking for a game now already because of COVID situation.
Yeah. So we kind of knew what the rules to the COVID game were last year. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that we know what the rules of the COVID game are this year. Let's just say we know, because if you don't play, it's a forfeit. Okay. Right. I mean, there's no grace period. Talked to Devin Johnson from Imhotep last night. He felt that was the biggest thing hanging over everybody's head right now. Even for him, he couldn't have all of his players together to watch film yet because of COVID. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, how many games? I'll be honest with you, District 3 has gotten hit more than just about any district with game cancellations. And we haven't even gotten all the students together yet. Right. That's been that's the thing that worries me. And I said it on a show. I've got a couple of these shows, whatever like that. I said it a couple of days ago when I was doing my WPIAL show. I can't hold my breath for 16 weeks. And I feel that everybody right now is holding their breath with COVID. I mean, Coach, what do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, it's just that cloud that's hanging over every program. But the only thing that we can do is just control what we can control. Focus on each and every day. Be thankful and appreciative for the day you get to get out there and you get to practice. And if you get a game, you get to compete in the game. I mean, that's glorious. You really enjoy that because, especially if you're a senior, because you just don't know. So you really, I kind of, in some ways, I think it just really forces you to stay in the moment more than maybe what you typically would as a kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, this particular season, I mean, how gratifying does it have to be, for you, being in the position that you're in the leadership role, at LS there? I mean, it's got to be enormously gratifying for you personally.
It is. This is my 21st year at LS. I've been part of the coaching staff in various roles the entire time that I've been working at LS. So there's blue and white in my blood, and I just
exactly
feel really good about it. I love the kids. I love the support from the administration, the school, the community. I mean, I think that's probably one of my favorite things about football is that it's truly like a community event. Yeah, everybody comes out to watch it. And this is a funny story, but I was at Lowe's a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lady there, and I believe her name was Donna, and I was wearing an LS shirt because I think that's all I own, something that says Lampeter Strasburg. And she stopped me and she said, I can't wait to get back in the stadium. And she said that her and a handful of friends, her friends, these ladies, they're in their 60s. And she said, we come to every game at LS. She said, so I was so bummed last year whenever I couldn't come watch a game, but I watched it online, but I just can't wait to get back in the stadium. And I shared that with our players. I said, I don't think you guys realize how far your reach extends sometimes. I mean, you're these people in this town, in this community really love and support what it is that you're doing. Then she did tell me that we better be good or she's going to be upset. So
right.
we're working hard.
I know that I was impressed. I mean, I got a lot closer to the program last year, and it is, and I think that's what draws us all together is the community aspect. The culture and the community are so much a part of a football team, and it's clearly, very important there. And, I was really smitten by it. And, quite honestly, I mean, I know that, you've got a season ahead of you, but my gosh, when the Berks League and the LL League merge, the following season, I mean, you won't be able to take a breath. I mean, on your schedule in the section that
no.
you're in with Weil and Berks Catholic, and oh my God, that's just, but hey, you're up against Warwick this week. So talk a little bit about your game this week.
I think it's huge. When you think of the programs, Warwick and Lampeter Strasburg, the last 2-3 years, I think we've been on like a parallel track with them. Very talented classes, very successful seasons, and a bunch of hungry kids wanting to get on the field. Watching them on film, I mean, they're well coached. Their defense is where they need to be. Their offense is physical. They're just their heart and their hunger, that you can see it on film. They just want to get after it. And that, when you're stuck behind some really talented seniors and you finally get that chance, I mean, that's your chance. And you don't want to take that for granted. And you can see that those kids are getting after it that way on film. So it's a big game. I mean, it really is.
It is.
Yep.
Even though it's a non-league game,
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically a crossover game. I mean, it's one of the, obviously the marquee matchups in District 3, the opening week of the season. I know that, Darryl and I'll be talking about it here a little bit later. He doesn't know that yet, or if he looked at the show outline, he would know.
Oh no, I already looked at it.
All right.
I'm already on it.
He knows.
I got my notes ready.
He knows he's got to pick this game and that. And so yeah, I mean, Coach, we really appreciate you stopping by. I mean, what Darryl and I are doing this year is really kind of elevated. We're trying to raise money for charity through this show, to the Peyton Walker Foundation and what have you. So we really appreciate you supporting the show. And obviously you guys know one another pretty well. So, all I can do is, wish you the best of luck. And anything, last comment there, Darryl, before we let Coach on?
Well, I'm just looking forward to, being able, especially for me, being able to get back out every Friday night and be around the teams that I've been fortunate to work with, the players, and being at Exeter and the Central York game this weekend, and obviously I was at Ellis scrimmage with YMSing, and being at YMSing's game, being at Governor Mifflin, being at Wilson, being at Berks Catholic, Daniel Boone, and I'm just looking forward to being able to see the coaches in person again and spend some time with the team and be on the sidelines, So, I'm just excited because a lot of these guys have worked their butts off this summer, getting ready for the season. So that's what I'm just most excited about, to see, these guys go out and just get it done.
Yeah, you're listing all those schools and all those names. Now all I can think of is how good is football in District 3?
Oh,
wow, right?
We were talking about that yesterday, and forgetting even the teams, but the talent level.
Mm-hmm.
That is being put out on the field in District 3. It's just incredible when you consider, even where all these players are going, where they're being offered, the type of notoriety now. Okay, Pennsylvania football was somewhat, I think, shoved to the side. Now you've got guys really interested. Okay, you got Nick Saban coming into Pennsylvania. You got the top level coaches. Okay, you got the #1 running back in the country, and Nick Singleton playing at Governor Mifflin, ranked. Micah Parsons, who's been such a talent coming out of Harrisburg. And you're exactly right, Coach. The level of talent, and forgetting even about District 3, look at District 12, 1, 11.
Oh yeah.
Pretty incredible of how that's all just moved forward. And for us, man, it's great. I mean, for guys, football junkies like Darryl and I, it's been fantastic. For guys like me who get afforded the opportunity to go to Hershey and do all the playoff games. I mean, just pretty.
And listen,
incredible.
the last thing I'll leave you guys with, think of this. Last year in the six state championship games, we almost had 4 teams for District 3 in state championship. So think about that. Almost had 4.
Mhm.
Almost had 4, and I think we end up having 3.
Well, and look, clearly, and and like I said, I do a couple shows here. I do the show with Darryl. I do a WPAL show, and all we did all year long is just kind of like point to the fact of, like with WYO and Central Valley coming down, and I produced the broadcast of the Pine Richland Governor Mifflin game out there, which arguably might have been, the best football game in the state, last year, overall. That was pretty incredible. But we can be thankful of the fact that there's a lot of great football here in District 3. And, Coach, we wish you all the best.
I appreciate
And it should be a lot of fun. I mean, either way, fingers crossed. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. So thank you very much for your time this evening. And, here we go, Darryl. I mean, we're first guest under the, under the belt here, but I couldn't think of a better man. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Take care now. We'll see you.